Eight, seven, six, five, four, three, two, one. All right, and we're back. Another week has been filled. Another week has gone by. It is Thursday once again. We're back at the same room, looking over the distance in the synth wave background. Welcome back to apartment 814. Sit down, relax, take off your shoes, stay away from my from my alcohol, please, and enjoy the show. How are you guys doing today? How you doing, Anima?
I'm doing okay, Synth Wheeler. How are you?
I should have chose Synth Weaver. That would have sounded better.
Synth Weaver.
Synth Weaver.
I said it wrong. Couldn't even say it.
Synth Weaver? That'd probably be better.
Synth Weaver actually does sound cool.
Yep. And how about you, Skeptic?
I'm doing pretty good. Very hot. Hot outside. We're in the middle of a heat wave. It's not very comfortable, but hey,
Well,
could be living in Cali right now, so rather be on the East Coast.
I do apologize, to my hosts here, to my co-host here. I didn't use our sheet to see what we're going to be talking about today. I was a little busy with IRL things, but
Tell me about it.
I'm sure you guys have subjects you guys want to talk about. Anything interesting you want to talk about this week? I know
Yeah, London
Anima
was on fire. They had a heat wave too. 105 degrees.
Ooh?
Now, in case you didn't know, that may not sound like the hottest temperature on the planet, but England just isn't built for it. Everything was on fire, bro. Forests were on fire. Freaking
Indeed, they were.
People didn't have air conditioning, you know?
Right.
Like,
God damn.
there was just so much. You gotta look into that. It was actually.
No, yeah, a lot. Global warming is a bitch.
I did
But
not
people
know.
don't want to like. There's people in England who are just like, no, that's a cult.
I did not know. I should
Climate change activists are just a cult.
look into that then. See if my English brothers are doing all right. Oof, I should actually do that. Actually, I do. I have a lot of people overseas that I know.
Yeah, check in on them. London, bro, lost every bit of their minds.
I'm gonna just send a general chat, but okay. So heat wave, Jehoshaphat's, dang. I hope everybody's okay. I'm guessing you know some people over there, or it just happened to be in the news today.
No, it just happened to be in the news. Record-breaking high temperatures
You don't know anybody over at the EU?
in the UK. I mean,
In the UK.
UK, EU. Sorry.
I know people in the EU, not necessarily the UK.
Who killing them in the UK?
Everyone's gonna say you. Okay.
Let's see. I'm literally sending a message. I'm saying
Did you not know that it was an international heat wave?
no, I didn't, because too many distractions here in America. And I wasn't paying attention to the EU. Sorry.
It's okay. We're too busy playing multiverses.
Well, I was, which came out the day before my birthday.
Yes, it did. The open beta.
Yep. So there's the early access to the open beta. Then they're doing this thing where you have to watch a valid Twitch streamer, right? And watching them for an hour gives you a beta key. But I didn't go through that. I got an invitation. Anima, you got yours through that, right?
Yes. Sorry, I was trying to change the game from multiverses to just chatting.
Oh, I could do that.
Please.
Well, speaking of games, We got when the last time you guys checked the PlayStation Plus free games?
Plus free games.
Yeah, one game specifically.
And what would that be?
Don't leave us.
Sync, you probably already played it, knowing you.
I don't know.
Crash 4 is free.
I mean, I think we all played
Oh,
that.
yeah, he definitely played it.
I did not. I was
running it.
I was playing through the
I
the
did.
trilogy.
Also, I
I
did
got
not.
like
I did not know it
Oh,
was free.
yeah.
On
I
what?
did
Yeah.
say that
All
was
platforms?
free, but I already have it.
Is that
No,
free?
PlayStation Plus. PlayStation
Oh,
Plus.
that is something you should say first.
I
Yeah,
most certainly did. You
Did
were not
you?
paying attention. Yes.
you were busy telling the UK that it's hot.
You were saying what's going on, who's killing them, or what's killing them in the UK.
Yeah, what's
Who's killing it? Who's Kilimanjaro? So, Crash is free.
Crash 4
Crash 4.
specifically.
If
Great,
only-
good.
And
More
then-
people should play it.
All right. That's why I don't buy shit.
Well,
I mean,
you waited
played it
for
when
like you waited for like 2 years.
I feel like it's been out
It's been,
for a minute now.
it's been like a year and 3/4.
It's nearly 2 years. Well, nearly 2 years, not entirely 2 years. But you waited a while for that to be free. Was it really worth waiting that long just for the game to be free though?
Once you realize the hype train isn't worth every single title. Now Crash 4, it might have been. It might have been.
So Crash 4 was
It was
certainly
the official release for that.
so Crash 4 was certainly worth the hype that it had because it was Crash 4.
Crash freaking Crash 4 retcon franchise. Well, they were smart to do it that way because there was absolutely nothing wrong with 1, 2, and 3.
I'm surprised you didn't get 4.
Feel like there's anything wrong with
I wanted to.
text per se, level
you-
design.
And you couldn't? Wait,
No,
what about
I-
its design?
Like the series didn't start to shift until Wrath of Cortex.
The gameplay was all still there.
Yeah. Like the gameplay stayed what it was all up until Twinsanity, and then after that is when the gameplay changed, and that's when everybody was like, nah.
Yeah, I don't think it was Traveler's Tales and Naughty Dog after Graphical Cortex.
So it was Traveler's Tale for Wrath of Cortex.
It was still them, but not Naughty Dog, I guess. It should have been both, I thought.
No, Naughty Dog's last game was CTR.
Oh. The Traveler's Tales kept it moving, though. I guess the story just wasn't. I don't know.
They
Naughty
c-
Dog still isn't part of it, so I feel like I don't even understand.
Well, I mean, Naughty Dog wanted bigger and better things. So
And they got it,
yeah,
for sure.
basically. So they moved on. They left it at CTR and they moved on.
Then they went to Jack and Daxter, which was a hit. And then they went to
Uncharted.
which was a hit. And then they went to Last of Us, which was they haven't.
It was also a hit.
I don't care what you have to say about The Last of Us 2. Naughty Dog hasn't missed yet.
Like honestly,
Hmm.
the controversy came from the plot and how people felt about it. Nothing else.
Yeah, let's not talk
I've
about
heard
the
it-
plot.
I haven't heard anyone bitch about the gameplay because the gameplay was fine.
Oh no, the
The
gameplay
mechanics
was
were
great.
fine.
Gameplay was great and accessible. People just that plot. So let's not talk about the plot.
The Great Divide. That hasn't been a game that. What was the last game that divided like that? Aside from Last of Us 2. I'm honestly asking because that doesn't happen all the time. Like only some like couple years we get a game that divides that like splits a fan base like that.
That's true, and I don't think there are games I can really honestly say that does. I can't.
Like,
I don't think
for
I
most
can
games,
think of one.
Everyone either likes it, everyone either hates it, or it's like it's just good. But like there's not too many games where it's like a 50-50 split of I hate it and I love it. Like that's the first one in a very long time.
I love it. I hate it. I hate it. I love it.
It was pretty much one or the other on both sides, and it was such an entertaining, to say the least, entertaining discrepancy.
Not like there has been divides, but not as great as The Last of Us
Like,
Part 2.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm trying to think like when the last time like a impactful divide for a game and how people felt about it.
Not on that scale. No, I don't think there was any game like that.
That's good. History has been made.
I mean, it's been made, but if it was for a good reason or a bad reason, I don't know.
I think it was I think it was a good reason. Like
I don't know.
It brought a lot of conversation. Like we should have like in the end. I feel like it did more good than bad. Like it made a healthy. It made a lot of healthy discourse.
Not healthy, really, because
it wasn't.
The discourse was the plot, which then somehow mutated to like, oh,
but yeah, but like people,
the second main
let's be
character.
honest though, Sync, like people are arguing, not even objective and subjective. It's basically subjective versus subjective, and people felt so strongly about it. Because the game was not objectively good or objectively bad.
It wasn't.
How everything played out was how the plot was entirely subjective.
The plot was something that caused a rift, so that brought a lot of conversation, but it also hurt some people in like future titles, because they're wondering like, man, will they come back with the series? Should I get it? Should I be involved?
I really don't think that they should. I guess they could, but it's like it's not going to. It's not maybe, but I don't think it should be like part 3 type shit. It's like no, don't do that. If I was the director, I would not. But
because
it's
if any, I'm not gonna guess, and honestly, I don't want to, but that's what's causing a lot of people to just like think twice or. Even...
Oh please! There are other games that warrant such behavior. The Last of Us 2 is not one of them. Like
well, what other? Okay, well, Cyberpunk.
Yes, that's going to make you second guess buying a game from CD Projekt Red.
Okay, yeah, well, that's true, but that's almost on a majority basis, not on a split down the middle basis.
Like, because you didn't like the game's artistic direction. Should not determine whether you buy them. Like that's not, in my opinion. That's not. I guess it's just my opinion, but like I would.
That's an opinion. That's an opinion that everyone is having.
Like
so, like
that's really.
If you think that it's not really the real reason, like to buy the next Last of Us, then that's straight up your opinion. But there are people who are on that stance or on that train that's like questioning whether they should get that game next.
Y'all are all right. So I'm gonna say it here first. This in Skeptic's opinion, all y'all out there that are feeling some type of way about The Last of Us 3 because you didn't like the plot and that's the only reason, y'all are acting dumb.
I don't think that's fair.
I think that's perfectly fair.
That could be a legit reason. You can fall off of something because of the plot.
I think that's a very silly reason to
all right.
No longer continue on something.
So okay. So
you're gonna have to give me more than that. You didn't like the gameplay. That's fine.
Okay. So the opinion of someone not liking the story of something, and then they don't want to, because the story is pretty much is the linchpin to The Last of Us Part 2. Like, that's kind of like the reason people are playing the game, for the story. If they didn't like the plot in running with that story, and they're confused or, they're divisive on the second one. Like, most people are divisive. Like, they don't know if they want to. They're conflicted.
You know what I hear? That's like hearing that like this is not the best comparison, but like that's like there's a 1,000 novel chapter book and you read 800 to 900 of it and then something happens and you're like fuck that last 100. That's stupid. in my opinion. After you invested all of that into the, like, you're basically at the end, just finish it. Like, why not just finish it?
I don't
Like,
know
I
if
feel
that's
like
a good
you're too far
comparison.
you're too far invested into it, especially if it's like,
Okay, so that's what you. Okay, so you're meaning like because you're already into the plot of the series of the game itself. Like that's a
you're
bad
gonna sit
reason not to
here,
get the next
you're
game.
gonna sit here and like call
So
yourself a real
okay,
fan. That'd be like if like Anima didn't like really hated 10-2, but he beasted on 10 and he beasted on 10-2 regardless, and 10-3 came out and he just didn't at least watch it.
so
That'd be silly in my opinion.
okay, so say somebody, because this I don't know if you count this as something similar. You're in the middle of watching a show, right? And then you get to like season 3 and it's just terrible. Would you continue to watch it all the way up to season 5?
Now, since that's closer, that's a little bit that's less harsh, because it's like not like that much. Like anything like that low, it's like that's a little bit more like an in-depth analysis. So like if you were to drop something, do you mean that you watched season 3 or you didn't watch season 3?
You've watched all the way up to season 3, but you're hating it, right? Like you just finished season 3. You're like, you know what?
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
watching 4
You
or
just
5.
finished season 3 and there's 2 more left. I would still think that it's a little silly, but I wouldn't call you out on it. Now, I feel like that's reserved for like longer things or more in-depth things. Like Game of Thrones has 8 seasons. You watch 7, but you don't watch 8. The fuck?
You watch 7, but you don't watch 8.
That's weird, bro. You're weird.
But I
What type of
thought
fan are
that-
you?
That show ended terribly and like kind of ruined it for a lot of people.
Like if you start feeling that the show was starting to become terrible, why continue watching it?
Oh goodness. It really just depends on your reasons, but I can tell you right now, if those reasons are on the subjective side, the subjective side, and you're like fully vested to the point where you consider yourself a fan and you publicly display yourself as a fan, that's really what it is. Like, you call yourself a fan and you display yourself as a fan, and you call yourself a fan and you represent yourself as a fan.
Okay.
And you basically get to the end of something and you don't finish because you're not the biggest fan of the way the plot is going.
Mhm.
And there's like basically 1 or 2 more iterations of it. And once again, you'll consider yourself to be a major fan. That's silly in my opinion. Now, if you're a casual, this is not for casuals. Not the people who are like, oh, you're saying, you know, like, I'm not talking about the casual people. The people that have the Twitter fingers and be like, oh my God, I love The Last of Us. And then part 2 came out, oh my God, I fucking hate The Last of Us. I'm gonna burn all my merchandise. Those people.
I don't know if they'll go that far.
Get on
But-
Twitter.
I don't know if they burnt their merchandise. I know they put them away, maybe. Yeah, but I don't know if they. But I think at this point, I would just have to like subjectively disagree, because
No, absolutely. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying my
'Cause
opinion.
if
I'm
if-
saying
if like
to summarize it into one sentence, if you are fully vested in something and you make it publicly known that you're fully vested, and then a subjective thing occurs to make you not finish, I consider that to be silly, personally.
I mean, I would count myself as a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, right? And at this point, you know, I've paid for every single game. I feel as though
Not quite the best comparison, but I get the point you're making.
right. Well, I just don't want to like pay for bad, like, I don't want to encourage or pay for bad ideas or pay, like,
Right.
at the end of the day,
But
they're not
but
going to
I'm
look at.
gonna cut that argument and say Sonic has had objectively bad games.
Yeah, there are objectively bad games, sure.
The Last of Us has not had objectively bad games.
And I mean, sure. I mean, that's, still subjective. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't want to sit here and pay or even pay attention to something that's like a golden turd, right?
Yeah,
I don't want to
you
pay
don't
for
wanna
a bad
support-
idea.
You don't want to support. Yeah. No, and that's fine. But you don't go around calling yourself like telling the world that you're a super fan of something. This is purely for the people that are making the most noise and get on Twitter and da. Like people like that. Like, yeah, the only thing I could think of that for you was like maybe like 14. Yeah, let's say 14. Like, let's say 14 has one more expansion, and you, in this scenario, you see how it plays out, and you see how the plot plays out, and it pisses you off, and you're like, fuck that last expansion. After you fully invested in all of 14 up until this point, we're talking over 10 years of investment into 14. I would think that you were silly.
I mean, if the plot sucked, right? I don't think I would fall off the game. I would probably
For that one expansion.
Yeah, I would because there's too many good things about the
And
rest
that
of the game.
is my point.
So that's I would count that as different because we're talking about a series compared to like one game. But I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying there. If there was something that I'm deeply invested in, and I would say Game of Thrones was something I was incredibly deeply invested in, but I regret seeing that last season.
Game of Thrones, like everyone basically. I'm in the middle of watching it now. Like I got to like the end of season 4, but like everyone's like basically giving me the impression that like it had like the Mass Effect thing where Mass Effect was perfect all up until the ending.
So like when it comes down to something that you consume in terms of a product, sometimes and I don't know why they wear these goggles, whether be it like people in Hollywood or people in the game industry. They will blatantly ignore criticism, and then they can go on and make more shit. Like, at that point, after you've spent your money on possibly one of the worst, it's one of the, like, a game you disagree with, right? And now you're just being skittish to buy their next game.
Now, I see you're being specific but general at the same time. See, like a game that you disagree with, like that pretty much summarizes like the other 50% of The Last of Us 2 fans. They're like, I disagree. And then like it's just if they were to make a Last of Us 3, you're gonna tell me that you're not going to at least watch a YouTuber play through it.
It's because I'm a fan that I'll be interested in it, but I think I would be one of those people to wait for like a review to see if.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you don't gotta go and buy it immediately. But like I'm talking about like the people that write it off or like that drop a series or drop something.
Right. So
again, after proclaiming to be an above average fan.
So like Last of Us Part 3, if that came out, right? If there's a Last of Us Part 3. If that comes out and the people on the internet's saying like it's the plot's kind of iffy or the plot got worse or something like that, then I don't know. I don't know what I would do at that point, because it's the point of me playing The Last of Us is not because of its stellar gameplay. It's not really changing the world with its gameplay. It's actually rather similar to, it's like an enhanced version of the Uncharted gameplay.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm about to say I kind of disagree with that,
so
because the NPCs those are some of the best NPCs I've seen in modern gaming.
So, really?
You man,
You don't play
you
a
don't
lot of
even
games.
know. Like you need to
Like,
play
just-
through. No. I don't know. I've never played a game where the NPCs have so much excessive and extra dialogue.
So,
And unless you see it and interact with it and play through it, you're not gonna know what the hell I'm talking about. Like that
I
minor
have-
background dialogue.
I have played through it, and that their conversation. I mean, I like the accessibility of the game, but their NPCs, I wouldn't, run home
Like,
about.
it's a
it.
highly slept on. I'm going to send you a video of like
No, I know what
This
you're
shit.
talking about. Like, you could shoot somebody in the face, and they'd be like, "Steve, how dare you kill Steve?" And they're like holding a grudge, trying to find you.
They do a hell of a lot more than that, and they say a lot more than that. But I get the point you're making. Yeah,
What they say doesn't generally mean that it's like smarter NPC.
the fact that I did 3 playthroughs of that shit and got 3 whole different like paragraphs from this one character, this minor ass NPC character that you could just clip
I
with a
think
sniper rifle.
I think you're appreciating more or less the dialogue of it. Not because if we're talking about like NPC and their behavior, their behavior
yeah,
is
like,
very very
Their
normal.
behavior is like maybe like a little slightly above average, but like they're talking like it feels a lot of what the NPCs say in that game is like what I expect to hear
I mean,
in real life.
if you let them talk, because you could just shoot them in the face
Key
and
word,
just keep going.
Yeah,
Like,
key phrase there. If you let them talk, like they say a lot. Like
Like-
they made a lot of dialogue for these nobody NPCs.
and that's
I
fine.
don't know too many games that is the case.
I mean, yeah, you're right, but that doesn't really make or break it for me for the game, because like the NPCs are not, they're like in general they do have some points. Like, I don't remember when you take down one person that was central to the plot, but you take down a lot of people. You're both characters you play is on a murder
Shit.
spree, but
they
none
freaking
of
count your like
none-
they count your bullets. Like I don't know. Like I'm sure that's not the first game to do that, where NPCs are like, oh, he's out of ammo, but like
no, I think that's a lot of games that do that. But like
no, it's definitely not a lot.
Gears
But
of Gears of War did that.
Gears of War, you're right. Yes, Gears of War does do
So-
that. I've heard that. Yes.
So, I mean, the dialogue is something that's
Now, when
pretty
you
good,
say a
but
lie, when you say a lie, please tell me you mean more than just like 2 or 3.
for Gears of War, or
For you know what? No, it's really too specific to us.
like in I
say
will
that.
admit in Last of Us they do count your bullets, but like, I think that's pretty. I think that's good in terms of like an NPC AI, but other than that, it's nothing really special. Their dialogue is what's special, but to me, that's
I mean, that's all one basket for me.
just not like why I go back and play the game so much. Like it could be special here or there, but I shoot them in the face and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you kill all that once you kill them.
Right.
Honestly, but it's
Like if
But like,
what's
you know what? You know what? Another game that does that, Red Dead Redemption. They do that shit too.
that's true. And like they will sit there and be like, "You're the one who killed Manfred." I'm
Right,
like,
like,
who
they
the
have a
fuck
lot
is
like that-
Manfred?
But like, bro, not every game is doing that.
I know, but it's like when they say, "You're the one who killed Bob," and I'm like, I don't know who Bob is.
That's-
Who's Bob?
Like,
Was
you
it
don't- I don't even
was it
have to
one of
know
the 20
the
people
fact-
I've shot to death? What-
Yes,
Like-
but the fact that's programmed into the dialogue is impressive to me because
I mean, that's fine if you see that as impressive, but like for me, that's not the point of reason why I'm playing The Last of Us. I'm playing it for the plot, to see where the story goes, and Bob is not really gonna matter in the long run. Once I shoot him in the face, and I continue the
no,
story.
of course not. Like, but it's like mad extra. They didn't have to program that.
I mean, if you appreciated that, that's fine. You appreciate that, that's fine. I generally, if I can really connect with the story like I did with The Last of Us, the first one, then, that was the game right there. A lot of people connected with that because of the central plot of that.
Of course, it appealed to like desire in the sense of like what people would really want to do.
It was
That-
really
that's,
good.
yeah,
It was
it was.
It was really
But you
good
know,
at
like,
that.
Last of Us Part 2, if people don't want to hear it, but it was, dare I say it, more realistic, because the main character was very fucking selfish. She was always selfish. She did something that was very selfish
Yeah.
and very true to her character. People didn't like that. That's just the truth.
So I think what people are kind of, because it is a realistic plot, but I would say both are realistic plot. The second
it's not
one,
the
though,
plot. It's not the plot that the fans wanted. Therefore, the split in the community.
because there was a lot of things that people were trying to point out, which made sense. For one, all the rules that Joel said in the first one, right? He said, "Don't do this, don't do that. You'll get trapped with this. Don't do that." And you're like, "How did that happen to Joel?" Right? And when it came to Ellie and the relationship with Joel, you can understand why she was mad at him for that. And the reason why she would go out for revenge, but it almost seemed out of character from like her first iteration, from what her character growth in the first game. And that's what people connected with, obviously, because you're going to connect with Joel and Ellie. And people just didn't feel right how this story went with that.
Yeah.
And say what you want about the second character, it is what it is. Judging her is like, it's whatever. She's new, it's people hated her, people loved her, but my stance is neutral with her.
I feel like it came full circle with the sense of stuff.
And it did. The plot came right around. I just don't. I just didn't understand like the last part.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Like that last part was kind of unnecessary for me.
It was something. It was a very foolish decision made by a selfish person,
like
who had a broken past. Because honestly,
like I'm gonna be honest, I didn't mind like Joel dying in the game. The way he died was something I.
That's probably like the one thing that like, was like. And like even that is subjective in the sense of like but that's the one thing that the vast majority of people agree on. It's like, yeah, like you don't want to see. It's like freaking, I don't know how much of The Walking Dead y'all have seen, but it's like freaking Daryl Dixon in The Walking Dead is probably the fan favorite. No one wants to see him die. I'm pretty sure he doesn't die. But if he were to die halfway through the show, it's like that. Yes, popular people die in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. That's reality.
I would say, well, no, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. What I'm saying is,
but people will call that bad writing because they like Daryl Dixon.
I would like him, like people dying, right? First off, that's your writer has to do it right. For like Joel, you would think he would do more of a sacrifice rather than just be murked off.
Yeah, that would have been much more appropriate. But to say that it was impossible for Joel to be in that situation is just not is not a realistic thought.
Why not?
Well, for starters, a lot of shit happened to get to that point.
Okay,
like,
but why?
And number two, a lot of the mistakes that happened weren't even from him. They were from his brother. Like another person was with him that caused a lot of fuckery to go down as well. But that's realistic.
I can't buy that.
That's realistic. I'm pretty sure.
I can't buy that neither.
Joel didn't even say who he was. It was his brother who started talking first.
I can't buy that neither. His brother knew.
And then
his
he was
brother
like, Tommy,
knows
what the hell are you doing?
No,
we don't know. We don't know shit about Tommy, but we know a lot about Joel.
No, because he explains it in The Last of Us Part 1. We've spent years surviving together. So his brother Tommy should know just as much as Joel, especially seeing how he is a leader
you
of
see-
an entire colony.
But you see, that's the thing here. It's like
That's kind of pushing my
from a
realm.
writing standpoint, you're right. But I see like the director was going for like a, but in reality type of approach, and that's what people didn't like.
Then I have to call cap on that one.
It's like freaking Harry Houdini did all this magic. Are you saying it's not possible for him to get killed by a magic stunt because he did so many before?
I mean, it's possible, but Houdini went out very differently. What I'm saying is, you establish a lot of things in the first game, and I would expect a lot of that to carry on in the second
You know what?
game.
I'm about to give a relatively real life example.
But you know, it's whatever with that kind of plot.
No.
'Cause
Let me hit you with this example.
What you
No. I want you to tell me. So Steve Irwin, right?
Okay.
Of all the people to get clapped by an animal, you weren't expecting it to be Steve Irwin, were you?
I mean, yeah, I would expect him to know how to handle it.
And yet it still occurred because that's reality.
I mean, anything can happen, and I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Now, I can't really say that I can argue against that because it was a mana ray that he stepped on by accident.
And like, but people can make the argument, well, he should have known. Like, his years of experience should have made him Doctor Strange level of freaking omnipotent when it comes to animals. No, that's not realistic.
Now, I don't know the full deal of what happened to Steve Irwin. I'm gonna be honest.
He's human and got caught slipping. That's exactly what happened. Oversimplified, but pretty much what happened.
I don't know, because saying that, you know, what Joel did is like that's reality, or that's how it actually really
that's
really,
all it takes is
that's how it's really. But what if, okay, so like him sacrificing himself, that's unrealistic?
No, for Ellie, absolutely not. It's very realistic.
Like, that's how I would envision him, because there is no way a man who has gone through all that shit for like 20 years, especially by himself and with the occasional partner, who wouldn't see the signs of, okay, why am I trusting these people?
Why am I trusting these people? And I guarantee you, if Joel was alone, it would have went differently.
Well, Tommy should have known too. However, I think, like, if Tommy wanted to be like that nice kind of person, he would have saw this. Tommy would have actually saw the signs too, because Tommy is also, he was with Joel the entire time.
And the only reason why I can't co-sign that is because I wasn't peering over Tommy's shoulder for 30 hours. I was peering over Joel's shoulder.
I mean, that's true. You weren't peering over, you know. I can.
So we're just taking. We're really making educated guesses on whether Tommy would have done that or not.
I'm going by what they establish with their relationship in the first one. Tommy says that I went through hell with you, and he's like, you wouldn't have survived without me for everything I taught you.
Right, and then Joel became more of a badass than him.
And he became a family man, and there's just a lot of things that doesn't equate.
But yeah, of course. Now, I'm not saying that the scenario you gave wouldn't have been better. I would have been 10 times better. Yes, it would have appealed. It would have appealed to me more as a fan. My argument is I can't truly call bullshit on. I can't call bullshit. I can dislike it, but I can't. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was bullshit, because it wasn't. It wasn't bullshit. I didn't like it, but it wasn't bullshit. All I'm saying.
Not bullshit. Didn't like it. I could take that.
But yeah, that should have went differently, and they finessed with the trailer. Now I'll give you that. They did finesse with the trailer. They did a flat out lie with the trailer. The trailer made it seem like Joel was going to be in that bitch like at least half the game. That was a flat out lie. Now on that I agree. They should not have done that. That was a
Technically,
blatant
tec-
lie.
technically he was in the game as a
No,
flashback.
it was a
NPC.
whole ass lie. They showed all these cutscenes of him acting like, and then like Ellie turning the corner, and then the scene changes to like Joel. It's making it seem like she's found, like it's straight up finesse. Like they flat out lied. It's like, okay, y'all can't do that. Like, come on now. Y'all can't be out here finessing with the trailer. And it wasn't even like a questionable finesse. It was a definitive finesse. You go back and look at the trailer, and Ellie cuts that corner, and like the camera pans to show Joel, but a transition to the flashback is just so seamless. It looks like it's happening like in the present, and that was the point. That's what they were going for. They didn't want you to to think that. And I don't approve of that. I don't approve of that personally.
Well, like I said, it was very opinionated. Split. People had different opinions on it. People probably won't have the same opinion as you did.
Oh shit! It definitely got Game of the Year. I forgot that.
Yeah, I got
Now
Game of
whether
the
it
Year.
deserved it or not is a different question.
That year's passed.
Right. Damn,
Masterclass
that was a
in
while ago,
storytelling.
wasn't it?
Say what?
Huh?
Masterclass in storytelling, the game's atmosphere, and everything that came with it. Whether people liked what happened to the characters, whether it was consistent or not. You know, like we still watch Dragon Ball. Toriyama isn't very consistent. He forgets things all the time. I think it's subjective to what you are really expecting out of something. And since this game was still relatively a new lore, it wasn't like so much established lore was thrown out the window, like in the example of Game of Thrones. You know, like we had one game to spend, a long game, but that's not to say that, you know, the retcon was that strong. It's just that people, like you said, didn't like what they saw and used every bit of what they did have to justify what happened. Does that stop it from being
And
the
then-
game of the year?
Right. And then they turn
not.
around and they turn around and call it a bad game. And that's where I was like, well, no, like y'all are letting your emotions guide your judgment.
Think of it this way. You want to know what really happened, like that I didn't approve of, that no one should ever approve of? How many people flamed Laura Bailey for her voice performance of
Yeah, like you should never do that.
Oh no, that's
She
Oh,
got
no, people-
so much
People
hate.
do do that on the regular. Like there's a character in Game of Thrones who's like one of like extremely heinous and very hated.
there you
And the
go.
actor got so much hate mail and voice messages and like letters sent to his house and like threats. I'm just like,
Yeah, see,
it's like, why do people do that?
because there are people who are detached from reality and
Like-
believe what they're doing is justified because they're connecting the wrong wires, and then they're thinking, oh, because this voice actor or actor played this in that media, that they are actually that kind of character. Like,
Yeah, that's not how they are in real life.
that doesn't
know,
make any lick of sense.
But like that's the idea here, right? It's just that same kind of judgment can color people's perspective in such a way that it justifies a mass you know, I would say not necessarily incorrect opinion, but
It's
a mass confirmation bias that, you know, no, this game doesn't deserve its accolades. Let's just ignore literally everything else that's right with the game and just kind of lynch it.
Right.
For the one
It's
thing
like
that we
it's
all
like none
agree.
of that shit. And that was the case with The Last of Us. It's like
So-
none of what it did right
I mean,
mattered in the eyes of the people that thought the plot was not good.
so the game, in my opinion, like going through it, you know, it's a
You
good-
thought it was
it's-
good.
It was
I
a
remember
good-
you said it.
Yeah,
You
I said it was good.
in the general sense.
Yeah, I said it was good. I like how it can be accessible for people who have a difficult time playing games like that. They enhanced a lot of the things that you did in Last of Us Part 1. I said Part 1. Last of Us. And I do like the gameplay.
This works out to be the last.
However,
of this part one.
It was not my game of the year because there were games I enjoyed more during that year.
I
And
think
that's
it
fine.
deserved it, though. I don't even really disagree with you because I remember something being nominated that I really wanted to win and not getting it. But like, it was a good game, man. The fact that it got so many people talking is honestly my proof that it was a good game.
Not even like people were talking, like people were talking like subjectively. Like that's what did it for me. Like if there was an objective reason to get to that point, then I would be less concerned. Say, oh well, you know, that's clear. Like Cyberpunk when it came out was objectively bad
Well,
because you could not play the game.
How was the plot though?
Plot was fine.
The plot was fine,
Right.
but
And
you know, it was just getting to for the plot to kick in without
Yeah.
my model falling through the earth.
well, the game, like, there was more bad than good in Cyberpunk, and they had to spend like a whole
You know
year
what's
to fix
crazy?
that.
Cyberpunk is the exact opposite, where like the plot was at least on par in the sense, if not superior, but the gameplay was like, what the
So like,
Honestly, when it comes to things like that, if you have to choose between game being complete and game being good story, you have to choose game being complete. You can't get game of the year if it wasn't finished.
I don't understand
and,
why
and you know what? That's the subject of the night.
I-
Plot versus gameplay.
plot versus
more
gameplay.
important?
I mean, that's actually a good question. What would you value more?
Well, I play RPGs, so JRPGs of that.
I
And
mean,
most would argue that the gameplay of those games can be repetitive.
yeah, so for example, and I'm sorry, I'm going to put this on blast, but I was talking to our fourth member, Panic, because I finished the Dissidia's story and plot. I'm not really vibing with the plot. I'm okay. You know what? I can appreciate the fan service, but between that, the plot wasn't really doing it for me. And I think, Skeptic is the only other person who's playing Dissidia Opera Omnia in this chat or in this room right now. But it is a repetitive, turn-based game, which you can literally turn it on auto by pressing a button. So you're basically waiting a lot in that game and just letting it go on auto. So if it wasn't for the fact that, there's stuff to get, not the gameplay itself, I don't think a lot of people would be playing that game all too much, because there's like a reward for everything you do in there. Feel like he left for a second.
But the question then is like, how do you enjoy games? Some people play games for the story. Some people play games for the gameplay. Like JRPG.
Well,
If I'm playing Final Fantasy, do I care if the gameplay is good? Personally, it has to not be so mind-numbing that I'm bored. There
Right.
has to be something to it. But I like strategy games, which means for me, the game doesn't have to be like this incredible action game. But if it is, I like action games too. Therefore, it is a plus. However, it is very easy for me to get bored playing a game that doesn't have a lot going on at any given time. So for me, I think it's both. It's a balance. If the game is turn-based, all right, it better have some really good depth. I better be able to have some creativity I can express. I need to be able to find a way to break the game, but it has to be hard to do. I don't want it to be too constrained. I don't want it to be too like broken or loose. And that for me means good gameplay.
so
But somebody else might not believe in random encounters in the first place, let alone turn-based battles.
yeah.
And so they'll be probably playing a lot more Final Fantasy VII Remake. You see the enemies, you run up on them, and you mash a button to hit things with a really strong stick, and that's the end of it. Is there still something for the strategist? Yeah, but is it as in-depth? Absolutely not. But it can be made that way. That's a good gameplay. And so I'm just like, great. Stories there, great. I'm pretty sure that same year was when Final Fantasy VII Remake was up for Game of the Year. That was probably my pick, but I'm like, I don't know if it can compete with The Last of Us 2. But I digress. So I think that really it depends on what people like. Like, we're used to games where you shoot things. They're tried and true. And that game has a little bit more of a psychological warfare aspect to it. It's not just about the bullets. So the gameplay was solid from the beginning of the first game. It was just built on the success of the Uncharted series. They really just kind of took a different direction with it, and the atmosphere and the NPCs, minus Ellie just being kind of there and like not really adding to the gameplay at all.
I mean,
Which I think they kind of fixed in the second part, right?
what do you mean by Ellie just being there? You mean the NPCs, like your partners?
Yeah, your partners is kind of being in the way, but also like
It's enhanced. They did some improvements on that. Like, they don't just go out in the middle of the field and the enemies can't see them because apparently
Right.
they're invisible.
it's
They
like
fixed
that's
that.
very disjointed. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're doing all this stealth stuff, and then she's wide open, and then they don't see her. But then the moment they see you, it's on sight.
Right.
So I think that like quality of life and just core base improvements to the gameplay is there. The story was so good that people were that emotional over it. Like even what can be universally agreed was a flub. I mean, I just think that like while the story mostly still remains intact as a incredible story, like is the
mean-
story worth it? People wouldn't even care so much about the game if the first game story wasn't great. You know what I mean?
True. I certainly am on the side of, like, when it came to The Last of Us, that I cared more about the story than
Right.
the gameplay. So that's why it affected me differently than other people.
And sometimes you play a game where you expect more from the gameplay than the story, like Devil May Cry, which was up for Action Game of the Year around that same time, I believe.
Did it
And
win?
it's just, it did win Action Game of the Year for sure. It deserved it. The gameplay was peerless when it came to the action.
True.
Like, now, is the story bad? No. Was the story like...
I mean, the story was, it was a good tie-on. Like, it wasn't like amazing and super in depth, but it was like, it was engaging.
It was engaging enough, but it ultimately came down to the same thing it's been about in all the games. And you know what? I'm okay with that because I got to play as 3 different characters and they all kicked a lot of ass and it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
I mean, the story was okay. It was enough. It wasn't Devil May Cry 2.
I liked. There was there were a few parts because they were trying to do like a multiplayer kind of thing in Devil May Cry, where 5, yes,
where you could play with somebody else.
yeah,
I wish the whole game could have been more co-op. It would have been sick,
yeah.
but it was not the case.
There was like, I loved it when there was a point in the game where you're going down. You have to go down to go up the plot device dungeon. And then when you're going down, you had a chance of meeting both V and Dante.
And they could be controlled by another person.
Yep, because they go through different areas in their storylines.
Right.
So it was,
Yeah.
you jump down and you meet Dante and your Nero, and both of you are bantering, where like Dante was just like, "You all right over there?" And Nero was just like, "Shut the fuck up." I loved
Yeah.
it.
That was super cool, especially since I ended up running into people who were really good at the game.
Right.
And we just like, I don't know, man. That's why I got a taste of that and was just like, I need more. That
So
was so much fun.
you can. So there was a point where, because I like Nero's gameplay, and I met Dante, and we were actually juggling. Oh really? We were actually juggling enemies in the air with our different. Like I had the best gear sets for the arms,
Mhm.
and one of them was his one of them that emulates his grab, which is I always put that one on. But
That's super good. He's
yeah,
got all these amazing animations of him like suplexing demons and shit like that.
right. So all we were doing between me and that other player, we were just co-signing each other's monsters. We were just keeping them in the air for like a long ass time. Like anyone that tries to get in the way, we just send them into the ball, and it was
So funny.
amazing.
So like that's an example of gameplay. Yeah, that's the thing. You know, I don't care. It's like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Love that movie.
Right.
Style over substance. But Edgar Wright is doing the styling. Movie story can be okay, but the movie's screenwriting was godlike. I mean, I feel like it just has to be passable in one aspect, but if the other is phenomenal, then it's great. Um, so the answer always for me is both. Because if the gameplay is garbage, you're not gonna make it through the story to enjoy it. And if the story is garbage, you're not gonna make it through to enjoy the gameplay.
You gotta go.
Um, uh, well, we should wrap this up. It's been an
Yep.
hour, and we really literally just talked about The Last of Us 2.
Yeah. I really did try to move the conversation on.
I know. A skeptic was into it, and you know
Yeah, he
what?
was.
That's fine. I was tired, and I didn't have a topic, and I'm pretty sure we didn't really have one as a whole. We
Right.
just kind of jumped into it. So,
He,
hey,
he was out for blood today.
honestly, this almost became a past day, and I'm glad it went down like this because this is probably the best case scenario. We got to talk about something that, yeah, was
Um,
good.
All right, well then let's wrap this up. Thank you guys for joining us on the podcast. If you're listening to this post edit, thank you very much for listening in. This is going to be going on to the Apartment 814 the YouTube. So this is on YouTube right now, so it's on that YouTube, and it's going to be going on to that YouTube from now on. And for those of you who are listening in on the Twitch, thank you for joining us on Twitch. All of our podcasts will be going on to apartment814.com, thanks to our guy in the background, Panic. He's doing a lot of busy work, so claps to him. Thank you for doing a lot of the stuff in the background for us. If you guys want to check out our articles that we write, basically we each write one day a week, so there's 5 of us, once every day. Go to apartment814.com, check out our articles. And
Yeah.
is there anything you want to say, Anima, before we
No, that'll
wrap this
do.
up? All right.
We be writing, so do be reading. We love you guys.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Take your shoes, get out the door, and get out.
You said it. All right, I wasn't gonna say it.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
I'll make
you were
sure
too
to
tired.
tell Skeptic, that happened.
Yeah, don't tell him, because then he'll he'll start saying stuff now. All right. Bye.